everybody. I hope you can hear me. Let me just get some feedback from streaming and see if we are alive already. Okay, we are alive. Okay. Awesome. So, welcome everybody. My name is Jonatas. I am a developer advocate at Timescale, and today is the 8th episode here, and we are building the TimescaleDB gem. So this is the common wrappers and helpers that for the Rails ecosystem. And later we introduced some RSpec helper that can help to set up databases and everything for testing. But the problem is that we don't have like a fair definition of. So let's do some recapitulation of what we have here. So here is the project repository, and we create this small application record selector that verifies what module including the acts as hypertable. So if it includes the acts as hypertable, it's supposed to be like a hypertable model, so we can extend it and we can create the hypertable here. But the problem here is that we have this create hypertable and we just guess that the person is using the created at column. We don't know about time intervals, compression policy, or whatever. So in the Rails ecosystem, when you develop an application, let me just jump into some example here. Rails app. In the Rails ecosystem, you have like this DB schema. So in the DB schema, you define the database based on the last migration, and it basically allow you to create table and do and dump all the information from your table creation here. And this schema definition is to just like dump the DDL from development to test. And it actually is not as smart enough to know about timescale metadata. So we need to just like imagine that we are going to inject some timescale metadata here. Or we could also, let's say, put like hypertable param here. So this is what we are going to do today. So we are going to params. I don't think it makes to just use the hypertable here, because it will mess with the default. So if the library is not enabled, it will be a pain. But we can just think about like just to inject our metadata here, and then we can discover how we can make it. So we need to start learning what's this domain and how it works, and then properly extract the information from hypertable and build this, let's say, recreate this reverse engineering for generating the rules based on our hypertable params. So let's start with understanding how it works. So let me move back to my previous place. Just a moment. Yeah. And if I just join here bin/console, I have access to the timescale thing here, and I can also just see here active record. I guess the name is schema dumper. Schema dumper. Yeah. So let's just see what we have in this code. So this is $sign on pry, just goes to the library and fetches the code implementation, so we can have access to this, and then we can see here how it works. So it gets like connection, create schema dumper, and use the dump method to get like a stream, like where you are going to dump this information, and you have like connection, like this probably is like database connection, and then it starts exactly here with the stream, and then you have this let's say string that is like a multi-line string. So this is like a here doc that you can just implement the entire thing here. And that's like how we do, for example, table. So when we get table, we do like create table and everything. So for example, I think we can intercept the table one, and then we can try to just see if what we can do there. So that's the main idea here. So if we get the rake task that runs the schema dump, it's probably something that it's easy to use. So let's just see the first thing here. We can just do dump, and that's all. So I can just say schema dumper. Actually, puts, I can even use puts.dump. And yay, it's already here, and it's already putting everything here. So as you can see, that's where we are, and it's very easy to use. So we can easily think about, we introduce, for example, here we have this ticks table. So probably also have the create hypertable command right after the table. So let's recap what we have in our migration helpers. So in the migration helpers, we can do create table with hypertable options. And when we do create table with hypertable options, what we do is just use setup hypertable options. So that's one we can call there. Or we can even rename it to create hypertable. So as this is the true create hypertable, and it also allows you to pass this extra compression option. So we can just call it other thing like create hypertable, and that's far enough for now. Okay, and then it will be very, very useful and convenient for us to just inject this. So let's just see if we have any set-type option. So let's rename it here, and it should be all okay. Let me just increase the font a little bit so we can follow it, and let's see how it goes. So if I do under exec rspec here, it's all working because I already did the changes to make it. And let me close this. And yes, so everything is running, and we just rename the create hypertable. Probably on README we also will have something here. Setup hypertable. We just use create hypertable there, and that's all. So that's fine. And now we can just think about this as like the command that we are going to pass. So what we are going to do in the end is call it like this. So when I do the dump, I will also need to dump this thing. So we will need to override the schema dumper. So let's create a new file, tab new, lib timescale schema dumper. And that's like, what's the template that we'll have? Like, oops, sorry. That's something like that. And I think this is like this. I guess this is like, just because the name is Ruby, it's getting something weird here, but yeah, I need to have like a template here, and I need to also finish it with template. So confirming that it's how it works, we can get here bin/console again, schema dumper. So in the schema dumper here, we have this action create schema dumper, but here is the dump method that we call tables, and the tables we stream, and tables iterate over all the tables, and then we have the table thing there. So what we want to do here is override the table method on the schema dumper class that is over active record thing. So let's just say here, let's start. Oops, looks like I got some issue with Word. Let's start with schema dumper. Schema dumper dot class eval do. So we can just say active record. This is the worst way to say, but let's start with this one. This is simple, and it's also easy to get. So we can just think about it and move this. So for example, oh, it's not including this extra thing here, and I see also that. Oh, yes. What's wrong here? Yeah, so the symbol is later. And so this is the function, and then we can just think about having def table, and then we will have the table name, and then we will also have the output, right? And then the stream. So I will say thing like stream dots, and then and then I put like this. So I will have create table, and probably it's like 1, 2 only. And I need to shift it a bit here. So let's call it like this, and then we can just oh, template should be right here. Okay, so this is the create table command, for example, and this is like where we are going to debug, because debugging is the easiest way to go through Ruby stuff. So you can just navigate and try to find things, and then you get there. So what we are doing here, we are like overriding table method. I can even call here super, and this super will also like execute the previous table, so we'll get the content, but we can also append something else here. So that's the idea, and that's where we are going to start like replacing this and doing everything that's like needed to interpolate the data from the database. I think we have like add connection available here and everything. So let's start with this simple one. So now I created the method and I create this file. So I have this TimescaleDB.dump, and when I do this, it will just dump. But if I load the file here in this command, so I will just force it to be overriding the classes in real time here and monkey patch it, and then I can test it again. So let's see if it works. Oops, I have a problem. Line 14. So let's get here what is missing. Oh, sorry, I missed one end. Yes. Okay. Okay, now I have it. And probably if I try puts now, I'll get into the pry that we created there. Whoa, we don't have superclass method named table for connection adapter, Postgres dumper, schema dumper. So it looks like we have a different thing here. Maybe the class is not the right class. I am just doing like this on class eval on the schema dumper class. So let's just see this code at all with edit. So edit is a pry shortcut that you can edit and find the source code of any class, and then you can just come here. So you see here we have like schema dumper, and it's a class. So, and inside this class we have the method dump, and the method dump is getting like create schema dumper that is coming from connection, and this is not coming from here. And maybe this is the problem, because I have the dump method here, but this is like a static method. So this is the problem, as you can see here. Oh no. When I say dump, I'm just inside this, I don't know, tables. And then here in the tables, I call table. And the table method is also here. So I call super of the table method, but for some, I don't get in this class. So let's see if when I edit it and I try again, now I get inside this. So who is self now? This is the Postgres schema dump, the regular one. So that's the class that we need to override. I don't need to follow here. So let's just make this. As you see, my shortcuts are not the most common. Okay, so now I have the class eval, and I have the super, and I have the pry, and everything is supposed to be okay to start. So if I just load the file again and I try to do the dump, I get the wrong number of arguments, just saying that it's 0 and it was expecting 2. On the schema dumper 100, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so it says that the super table stream. So maybe that's what's missing here. And but I remember that I can do that. Okay, table given 0 expected 2. Okay, let's edit the schema dumper again and just discover where is this table and stream. So exactly the same thing here. So it's supposed to work if we do bin console again and we try the dump, it's okay. And when we overload the dump, then we have an issue because the schema from time line 3 is just given 0 arguments. Okay. Let me just remove the super here just to see what we can get and see if we will get what we want. Yes. So super is the problem. Okay. Oh, sorry. Now I got my error. Bank table name. So yes, the program was wrong. Hello, Nagendram. Welcome. So we have some people interacting. If you have any question, feel free to ask. We are basically building the dump of the hypertables, and this is where we are have lifting now. So I was calling here table instead of table name, and table is the name of the method. So we end up with recursive calling. Lesson learned. So let's move on and let's see what we can get here. So we are recurring pri here to just see how it goes, and now we can get back there. So we are just doing this and to make the schema dumper work, and we can get it. So now we have the super. So having the stream. So if we actual stream, we'll see, oh, the stream is receiving the data, not putting it. So I cannot see it there, but it doesn't matter. What here that's important is the table name, that's the events, and it's also a hyper table. So, and I have connection here. So I can think that instead of using the connection, I can just get here a hyper table, for example, Timescale dot hypertable, where hypertable name is table name. I can do a find here. Can't convert. Oh, sorry, this find is find by, not find. Okay, and if we call some table name with some extra weird name, it will be new. So that's fine. So if we find the table, we know that it's a hypertable. So this is how we can start thinking about it. So if hypertable equal find hypertable, then we can say create hypertable, and then here call table name, and then now we can get the columns and everything that we need for this hypertable. So how we will discover this? So probably it's in another place. So we need to discover, and maybe this is also not mapped here. So let's just jump into our space here. So when I use basically using this .env file that is connecting to test schema. So if I say here .env now I can just say URI test, and I have it. So if I call here pg where I test, okay, it does not exist the database. So looks like I was just using the test database. When I join console here, let's see what is URI from test. So it's using URI from test, and for some reason I don't get it now. Okay, no problem. Let's just start it from Timescale Postgres. So I'll get this playground environment that I have some tables here, and this is the ticks table. So if I call here the ticks, the ticks, I see that this is a hypertable, and this hypertable I can get more information. Table TimescaleDB information formation dot hypertables. Okay, and here is exactly what we have there, but we don't have the time column here. So probably this is on dimensions, and the dimensions here is the one that we have. So we can get this dimension that is like column name time and this column type timestamp without time zones. So I need to and I also have this time interval for the chunk. So I need to use this information there. So let's just think that we need to map this. We don't have the dimensions yet. So let's create this before we print. Oops. Dimensions RB. So class dimensions and the dimensions, I can just use the dimension. Oh, let's keep it plural as continuous aggregates, as it's hard to say. And here I can say self table name equal the. This is just like a easy way to just allow us to use module Timescale. And what we need to do here now we need to include this dimension. So dimensions, and the dimensions will be included in the hypertable. So in the hypertable, you can see here we have like these compression settings, and as you see here, we have a hypertable name in the foreign table, so we can get it from there. So I can say that hypertable has many dimensions, and it will be very similar to this. So I can say has many dimensions. Foreign key will be the hypertable name as the previous, and the class name will be timescale dimensions. Yeah, and this will just make it easy to reuse it. So for example, if now I call here bin/console, and oops, oh my god, here, so it's wrong side inheritance. So now it should be fixed. So let's see. And now if I try here, for example, tick, that is my hypertable, and I can call dimensions, and it should return the dimensions, and then I can call like column name there, and that's all. So I don't think I am thinking maybe this is has one and not has many, because dimensions is just a single one. Maybe I'm not that familiar with this schema, but I will just try to see if we can put it has one, because we don't need this extra square brackets here. So let's see if I reload it. Now I can try it, and I have a single dimension. Yay, cool. So now that's fine. And you see here that I have a kind of active support duration, and I can use this as a time interval. So let's put it into our dimension as it's warning us. So yes, let's see now if we get out of this warning. Yay, cool. This recognized column type is a problem, but we are not going to fix it now. That's hard, but we need to decide how to come and how to move and make progress. So now we have the hypertable, and we have the dimensions that are going to allow us to say what's the column for the created at. So we can call dot create column name. Okay, and this allow us to just get it here. So when we call this, we are going to use the time column here, and the time column here comes from hypertable dimensions column name. Nice. And then we have chunk time interval, and this is like this. So it says time interval P7D. So let's see interval. I'm curious if this P7D is because of my implementation, or this is a different attribute before time interval. Ah, right. This is the new representation, the interval. And if I call this time interval class, it's a string interval. I think we need this. If this, no, I don't want to have. I want interval here, and is that I just pasted the suggestion that was the I want. So I was not really paying attention on that. So let's 7 days. Okay. Humanize. I don't have this support, so I need to humanize in Rails intervals. I think we have something like human. So that's not the case. Well, let's find it. So I need to just find a way to humanize intervals to days and hours. Or I can just use this 2s that is like 2i, and I can just say seconds, and it will work. But that's weird, because people will say like 7 days, and then they will see some calculus like this, and that's like 7 days. So if I just call like the interval here inspect, I will get this 7 days. It's weird to use inspect, because inspect is not the right method. So let's just take a look at the inspect here. So it's trying to say 2 sentence. Cool. So I can try 2 sentence. Two sentence. Okay, two sentences not from this class. So this is like on the parts. So I can say parts two sentence. Okay. Okay, so this is like inspect. I can just use inspect file. So let's see here, 2 hours dot inspect. That's fine. If I call it 10 days inspect, that's fine. So let's use, it will be fully compatible. So we can just say dot inspect. I don't get why default here like in value seconds if parts are empty. So yeah, let's just move like this, as the parts will be easy to process. So we can just call chunk time interval. So the time interval here comes from time interval from dimensions. So let's create some dim here. I like some dimension dim equal dimensions. So, and then now we can call here dim dot inspect. Okay, so the inspect will also insert the double quotes, which is cool because we need them here. And the column name can be like this. So, and compression settings can be another turn here. So we can just like say something like build compression settings, because if we call here hypertable dimensions, we get and compression the compression set. So we have a compression set and the segment by column and order by column index 1. So the segment by is nil, but we have the attribute name. That's where we are going to segment, and we also have this null first and all these options. So I think we can really try to put it here. So we are going to have a compress segment by compression settings for hypertable. So this is the depth compression. And this is a simple let's see what we have, compression settings dot none. When I call none here is cool because it will use exists before behind the scenes, and it will return. And if we return an empty string, it will be fine. And we just close the brackets here. And if we get it here, we need to say something like comma and then plus this compressed segment that can be also nil, as this is nil here. So segment column index, we are going to use this. So we need the dimensions here. Compression settings first. I don't think we have multiple compression settings, so this is probably the same case of move to have a single one there. So let's do this, because this has one compression settings. Every hypertable has a single compression settings. That makes sense a lot now. Okay, so let's see what we have. So now we got single compression settings, and I can just say hypertable compression settings. And this is the settings. So I can say here settings dot segment by column index. So this is the first thing that we need. Let's move it here like this, and then we can just call it like this, and compress order by column index. So we can just like this. Order by column index. I will need to do something here. Order by, because in this case we are using order by column index. See if create hypertable accepts this option. Okay, just a moment to get some new screen here. Timescale create hypertable. Oh, here it is. Latest optional arguments. So we have chunk time interval, create default indexes, associate, migrate data, time partitioning func, everything, but we just have create default indexes. Okay, so looks like we don't have it. We don't have this option to put anything there. So, but we have a few options. So we can say partitioning func. We can pass here chunk time interval and everything. So cool. And we are using this kind of syntax, and we are going to call chunk time interval. And the extra thing here is that we are enabling compression. So when we enable compression, we can compress by some stuff. And this is not the option from create hypertable, but from the options inner this. So let's go again to migration helpers. And inside the migration helpers, we have this this extra thing here that is enable compression and do this compression details here. So in this case, we have compress order by and compress segment by, and that's all the options that we are passing. So let's just stick with this order by and segment by. So we have both order by column index. So if I say here tick columns names 1, is its symbol, order by symbol. I don't think I use this in this text table. Let me just confirm. So if we have the hypertable name, we need to this let's say compression system is detached from the hypertable part here. So the time interval comes until here, and the compress segment by is fully independent, and the compress order by is also independent, and I don't need to have it here. So I can just like ignore, and I will need to have like segment, order by, compression interval, and all this stuff will be let's say depending on this segment by. So maybe we can even extract a method here just to say like set up compression hypertable compression settings, and then we can just reuse them in 2 steps. But yeah, that's one thing that we can do on the go. So compress order by and compress segment by, the only thing we have as a problem is that segment by here can be new, but order by column index is being bring instead of bringing the column instead of bringing the column name, and we need to use the column name, not the column index. So when we call here tick column names, we see that like the order by is a bit different. So I just want to confirm that this example that is ticks, what I have here in the compression settings, I don't think I have compression enabled. So yes, that's the case, and maybe that's the problem, Mike. So let's just think that we can work in something that's already here, as I have this test environment. In this test environment, we are passing compression, order by, and everything. So when we call here the create table, it should call everything with the options, but we can also reuse this to confirm that we are talking about something that we can collect, because maybe I do 2 different things here. So let me just see it on action. So okay, so connection is using the playground DB name, and the playground is not with exactly this thing. So let's just drop this table. Okay, so I dropped the table, and now we are going to just join this console. Maybe we can even execute some script against this. So let's do it. That will be cool. Let this all in one example. Examples / all in one using the 𝗔𝗯𝗀 test. So let me just do with these 𝗀𝗀 now. Okay. I can also sorry. I'm sorry. I got concentrated in my keyboard and forgot to share what I'm doing. So let's just think that we are going to reuse this. So we are going to have this URI in the beginning. So I will not hard code my name here, just for now. I can get like our argv. So the last argument value from the command line. And then we can just establish this. So what we have here, we have the create table events, and the events has this identifier and a payload, and we are segmented by this. So identifier in this case is the first column, and that was the thing, and the compression interval in days, and then we have a chunk interval of 1 minute, and the column here is created at. Okay, and then this is what we have here. I don't care about all the stuff here, but we have like a compression stats and so on. So this is what we can just now all in one, and now I can just reuse my URI. Looks like it gets like an extra space. Okay. Oops. Okay, so it says that my URI is not working well. Huh. I have double quotes twice there. I didn't notice that. I don't. When I say P, right here, it should just note twice. Okay, so if I just remove it, fine. Postgres, it's not URI. What's wrong with my URI? I got it running too many times. Okay, so this is the Ruby examples one. Okay, having a bad URI error. Okay. For some reason, this. Oh, right. So I have the PG URI here because I also have the .env part here. So if I have the last argument, I'm not going to use it anyway. So let me remove this and just use the last argument from the command line. So it should be enough to run out. Okay. All right, so now I need to say it. Ruby all in one. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Finally. So we got into the point that we have the compression stats here. So I can just call here, for example, hypertable compression settings. Oh, it's not a tick here. What's the name? It's event. And we have this segment column index that is 1. So if I say here event column names and then I use 1, it should be payload. And that's weird because segment by columns, column names here are identifier, and that's what we want. So maybe we should put like a -1, like segment by column index. Let's do some Google search and see what we have there. Okay. Okay, so just 1 second. I'm going to just find this. So segment column index. Segment column index. Okay. Index. Position of attribute name in the compress segment by index. All right. So this is related to the other attribute here. So we have the attribute name, and if we have, okay, so this is the name of the column used in the Okay, so in this moment, when I say compress segment by, and then I have here compress segment by, and I can use multiple columns, and then, for example, in this case, segment column index. All right, so we'll have multiple hypertable settings for this, and that's the point. When we say compress segment by using multiple, so I cannot use it that it has one compression settings because it can be many, and then that's the point that it will make sense to have the segment by here because we have 2 different columns, and then we need to know what's the here. So this is the one, for example, this is the B column, and this is like the D column, and the D column, for example, is the number 2 here. So in the order by. Okay. So the compress order by and the compress segment by treat as in a different thing, and I think that will be a great thing to continue our session next week, as the things are going to get more deep into details of where we are going to do. So if we come here, so we will need to iterate over compression settings. So each settings will help in somehow or we'll build it in somehow to make this single command. So we will need to map it here, and in the map will be like segment by map, order by maps, and then we will need to build them independently. Yeah, so that will be very funny and interesting to work on, but it's too hard to just make it today, as we will need to break it down into probably like 2 classes, one to resolve the order by and one to resolve the segment by, and then join them to just build the command here. For now that we have the compression settings working, let's say I just ignore it for now, so we can just conclude this episode as like next step. So we can just put it here to do build compression settings. Let's put it here as a to-do, and then we can just ignore this method. So this is the comment that we will need, and this is the method that we are going to implement. But we can test this part, and this is the cool part of doing this. So we can just see if it works. So let's see. Oh, I am the wrong thing. I have a syntax error. Let's get back here. Let's see. Syntax error, where it is, line 24 of the schema dumper. Oh. Okay, I have this puts, I have this end. Oh, this is the end from the if. So let me just make it end of the if. This is the end of the method, and this is the end of the 𝗧𝗶𝗺. Let me fix the indentation here. And this is a weird indentation issue because I have 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, now they look good. And if we call it now, what's going wrong? 26. Okay. Okay, so we have the hypertable equal here. If hypertable class eval do. I don't get why it's an expected end of input. So maybe, oh, this is an extra end that was missing. Okay. And now if I try the schema dumper here, just a moment. Why I don't have it anymore? Okay, let's active record schema dumper dump. Okay. And right after create table, now we get this no ID. This is not belonging to what we have, but okay. And then we have this chunk time interval. So chunk time interval is still wrong, so we can fix it here. So jump dim. Okay, so here. Compression settings. Chunk time interval is on dimensions, and it's like time interval, so I missed here. Time interval inspect, and now if I call it again, Okay, let's see. And now I can see 1 minute, so I need to also put like double quotes here. Will be quotes, not double quotes. And the hypertable name is the same. Okay, so now we have this small command. Let's test it once more and let's see. This session is ending. If you have any question or any comments, feel free to ask. This is cool that we can have interactions here. Also, I'm going to join the office hours. It's already starting, so that's my next thing. So we got the schema dumper. It's empty. If we just override with our thing, we will also have this create hypertables, and it will also respect the time column and the chunk interval. So that's working. That's fine. I will be committing it a bit later today, and I hope you enjoy this session. If you are watching this video on YouTube, feel free to join our Slack later and also join our community from Timescale. We are very supportive there, and it's a great place to share your needs, and also we can try to support you and understand your needs with Timescale. If you are using Timescale with Ruby, feel free to drop a line, direct a message on me on Twitter or YouTube, and let's try to continue these crazy adventures on mapping everything to work with Ruby and map it in the Ruby style, so we know how cool it is to be fluent with Ruby, and then we can just wrap this in shortcuts that can make our lives easier and also have the right code blocks to the right building blocks to get into the most amazing system that you can build. So I hope you enjoyed this session, and thank you very much. See you next Tuesday.